few weeks back we talked about the Skylon thing, which is obviously a space concept. And we did mention actually briefly the scimitar version of the engines that are on the Skylon, which is I think the concept's called the A2 or something like that.
Sure.
We talked about it a bit last time. Essentially uses and so this is something that is, I think, about 25 years away roughly, they think. So probably a bit longer maybe than the
spaceplane.
Possibly, yeah. And the idea is that it would, although I can't remember exactly how long the Skylon's time frame is off the top of my head.
Well, the engines are being tested in 2019 for the Skylon.
Okay.
So there's just a sort of innovative engine concept that essentially just we talked about it in a previous video, cools air to allow it to get to ridiculously high speeds without melting.
Yeah, essentially, the spaceplane version has a rocket engine. Yeah. A rocket-like mode, and the concept basically omits that rocket breathing mode and uses the extra weight and stuff to allow the engine to run for a longer period of time, to be more robust, to be more efficient with its use of fuel, that type of thing. Yes. So it would end up being something that would travel. It would look actually quite similar, slightly different, but somewhat similar to the Skylon. Yeah. In terms of look,
it's the design. The wings are really far back on the design, aren't they? It's like a long, they are fuselage thing with like little mini wings at the front and then bigger wings at the back. Yeah. With the scimitar
like little winglets at the front. Yeah. Yeah. And cool, whereas the Skylon wings are centered in the middle of the fuselage, aren't they?
Probably because it's just full of giant propellant tanks, that thing.
Yeah. Whereas that's what it is essentially.
Yeah, it's a big old tank.
It's a big tank with some engines on it.
With like a tiny bit in the middle to put a payload. Yeah. A bit like a rocket, I guess.
Like any rocket, yeah. But this would be able to carry a good number of passengers, maybe up to 300 passengers, and would be able to fly up to Mach 5, which is pretty tidy.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
So you're looking at quite short journeys over the Atlantic, 2-3 hours sort of thing.
Decent. I mean,
sorry, it was
less than that. Because so Concorde, which was
2 hours.
About 2 hours from London to New York, I believe. And that was like 3 decades ago.
Yeah.
That was supersonic.
I tell you what.
Come on. More than that, I think. Actually, the first Concorde flight was like... I mean, I don't actually know the date, but I feel like it was late 60s, early 70s. Yeah. It was a while ago. Yeah. Like, what are we doing? It's 2016.
I know. You think back to those times, and you can see why... if you go back and watch a film like 2001: A Space Odyssey, where they just presume by 2001 everyone's going to be living on like these orbital platforms. I mean, maybe this is a lesson we should learn from what we talk about the time about the future. Maybe. But because of everything that was happening then, because people, if man's on the moon, they've got Concorde, they've got all this crazy stuff going on.
Surely just extrapolate from there.
Just project that.
20 years will be on Mars. 30 years will be living in these big habitats in space. Yeah. Everyone will be jetting around the world in a matter of hours. All this stuff.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, so you're right. A lesson to learn about how enthusiastic we get about the future. But then, at some point these things have to...
Well, they come around. A lot of them come around eventually.
And some of them. Supersonic air travel is something that... commercial supersonic air travel on a large scale is probably something that will eventually happen.
It will. I mean, it will definitely happen again. It's just as to whether it becomes commonplace, as to whether... Your average flight across the Atlantic, your average flight, long-haul flights, intercontinental flights, end up being supersonic flights on average. I mean, they have problems in that I think if you fly over land, then you have some issues with sonic booms and noise and stuff.
Just constant.
I think Concorde was banned from flying over land, wasn't it? I had to only go into supersonic mode once it was it was over the ocean.
But that's sort of okay if you keep these things.
Around it.
Yeah, if you keep these things for transoceanic. Crossings, heading down across the Pacific down to Australia from the west coast of the US or over the Atlantic or all this kind of stuff. It's great.
Yeah, definitely.
Just smash through it. Yeah. Actually, even going from northern or western and northern Europe over to North America, majority of that journey is over sort of the Arctic Circle and north of Canada.
Exactly, yes.
Where there's no one there.
There's nothing there, no.
Just make as much noise as you want.
Yes, straight over Greenland. There's some like Inuits there, like...
And some polar bears just like, shut up!
But yes, I think eventually they'll become more common.
Maybe.
I mean, they're always going to be. Are they always going to be more expensive? That's the thing. Or significantly more expensive. I mean, people pay to get to places faster. They pay for convenience, essentially. Like, some people will pay more to get a taxi instead of a bus. Sure, and that'll always be the case. That you have these tiers of, of people that pay more and more and more to get things that are more and more convenient and more luxurious.
But more people ride the bus on a regular basis than get taxis on a regular basis.
Exactly. So will it ever replace standard commercial aeroplanes? I say ever. I mean, in the kind of near future, the next 50 years or something. Will it, or 100 years? Will it replace, just your standard jets, your standard turbofans?
Yeah, for that it has to compete price-wise with it, basically.
Yeah.
In terms of a ticket price.
Yes, I mean it can. I think it can be slightly more expensive. Because
you're paying for much faster travel.
Yeah. So I will sometimes, for example, if I fly some parts of the some journeys in the UK, if it's like a 9-hour train journey, and I have to do a change in London, I'll be like, I can pay less to get the train, or I can fly and it will take an hour, and it would be sort of 3 hours door to door instead of 10 hours door to door.
Which is basically every time I travel south to stay with my family. Yeah, that's exactly the situation. It takes me, like 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours door to door getting a flight. Yeah. Or like a 7-hour, 8-hour train journey. So screw that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have that much money. So I'm paying. I'm still.
Your time is worth money, though, isn't it? That's the thing.
Time is money.
Yeah, exactly.
Particularly to some people who obviously really do lose money when they're spending time traveling. But I'm paying for that convenience, and that convenience is, it's not a huge. It's a price increase, but it's worth it, and it's not a huge jump to make it worth it. So if supersonic aircraft could fall into that category where you just pay a bit more, then they'll be very popular. Yeah, it's just whether they can ever do that.
So do they need these scimitar planes, the A2 or whatever? A2, so this is the reaction engines company concept for a supersonic jet. Yeah. Are they going to need like their own sort of infrastructure built and stuff, or can they just use?
No, just use standard runways.
So they can basically just use the airports that are already there.
Yeah.
Suddenly you just have these big old supersonic jets.
I think they're longer than your average commercial jet, but they're made of lighter materials and all sorts of things. That means that they can land on commercial runways.
And do they have a pilot? I mean, I know they're just literally just a concept.
I don't actually know. Maybe they're autonomous.
That would be cool.
Because the Skyline obviously is autonomous. It doesn't have anyone, but obviously that's a different. I don't know actually.
The picture, this A2 plane is literally just a concept at the moment. They haven't even designed they haven't built the engines.
No, it's all hinging on building the the thingy engines. What are they called? The
scimitar.
No. Oh yes.
Sorry, the other one's the Sabre.
Sabre
engines.
Sabre.
Yeah.
The Sabre engines.
The pictures of it. I
was going to say Raptor engines. It's bloody SpaceX engines. Anyway.
The pictures of the what am I doing? The pictures of the A2 plane.
What are you doing?
I don't know. The pictures of the A2 plane have no windows.
Yeah, they don't know.
They're not
windows.
Pilot's
fresh out of windows. It's like the Hyperloop, probably.
Yeah. I wonder what.
I'm sick of that. These things haven't even invented. I'm already sick of them. Not
maybe
having windows.
Do windows impact sort of drag and stuff when you're traveling at really high speeds?
Yes, it's not they don't impact drag. It's because at that very high speed you generate a lot of friction, a lot of heat, and to make the windows thick enough to withstand that energy, they're going to have to be really heavy. So to save weight, they just shed the windows.
Yeah, and it just adds manufacturing complexity. If you can just make the whole thing out of just one big,
exactly, just mill it out, or however they do it, then
just make big.
You can probably sections. You can probably make it stronger, essentially.
Yeah,
without windows,
stronger, therefore, and lighter because it's
lighter.
Yeah, which makes sense.
So that's why. So they'd have some other system of, screens or whatever on the windows.
Yeah, I know what you mean though. I want windows.
Thing's going to be going bloody high. It should,
high and fast. I want to see that shit.
Yeah, it'll be like I don't actually know the top altitude, the sort of estimated altitude, but I mean it's going to be something probably not that far off your sort of U2 heights. These very high, maybe 50,000 feet, 60,000 feet. I don't really know, but surely it's going to be high because
an amazing view from that.
They can.
You'd be able to see the curvature of the Earth a bit, probably.
Yes, yeah, that's what
you can actually see out of just a commercial jet. If you go to the cockpit, have you ever done that? They don't let you do it anymore.
I did when I was younger.
When I was a kid, I did that,
and we did it in that parabolic flight. And I was too.
That's what I was looking at, and that was much lower than commercial, the high commercial flights.
Point, yeah.
But there was you can very very slightly see it even at 30,000 feet or whatever it is that commercial planes fly at. 30,000 feet?
Yeah, something like roughly 32,000 feet.
Yeah, so I imagine you could. So yeah, give me some bloody windows. Just make the whole thing out of transparent material.
Oh yeah, just
now
do
we're
that.
talking.
Just sort it out. Make it out of cling film or something. Or out of glass. Just a big glass tube. I mean, you probably could do that. It would weigh an absolute ton. It would be probably really brittle.
Really brittle.
Make it out of Gorilla Glass, like the phones.
Yeah. Like it hits a bird and the whole thing shatters.
Or you just see like loads of insects like squashing, like covered in like crap all along it.
Oh man. That's not what you want at all.
No, you wouldn't get that anyway because they don't get insects at home.
But this is part of the thing that I really enjoy about air travel is looking out the window.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like
I
went through a phase of not caring about that, but you know, when I was like a kid or something, just like want to play the games and watch films. But now it's look out the window. It's like look where we are.
Especially when you're going over places. If you've like when I've flown to Asia or somewhere, and you fly over some crazy like mountain ranges in Russia, and you're just looking down, and it's just these kind of wild places that you know you're never going to go to. They're in the middle of nowhere, and they look really spectacular from the air. Like missing out on that's a bit of a tragedy. I don't want to miss out on that. I mean, to be honest, of the height of this type of thing,
you probably wouldn't get to see much.
The view might be better from a normal commercial aircraft in terms of the view of the ground.
Sure, although the view from the ISS is pretty damn awesome.
I mean, it will still be awesome. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, you can still see everything.
So what they'll probably do,
what am I talking about? Yeah,
is
but
mount cameras on the outside, and you can just watch it through a headset
and zoom in. But it's just
screen.
not. It's not as cool though.
It's not as cool. Unless you could put a headset on, unless you've got a 360-degree camera on the underside of the plane, and you put your VR headset on, and you're just suspended under the plane. You just look around and everywhere. The plane's above you. You're just like, oh, this is pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway.
You can see about that.
But there are other concepts as well for other types of sort of futuristic aircraft. Some of which are
almost more than rockets.
Kind of rockets, kind of almost spacecraft with a sort of sub-orbital type aircraft. There's that SpaceLiner thing that Germany have been talking about, DLR have been talking about for a while, which is kind of like basically it's a bit like the Virgin Galactic Spaceship One thing, where it's slightly different because
that takes off horizontally and lands horizontally, right? But it's just attached to a much bigger lifting body of some kind, right?
Is it the Spaceship One?
Spaceship One. Does it take off vertically?
No. It takes off horizontally. It takes off on this like White Knight 2 aeroplane.
That's right. Yeah.
Carries it up and then it drops off the bottom of it.
And the rocket engines fire.
And then takes it up into orbit.
Yeah. Whereas this is a vertical. The SpaceLiner is a vertical takeoff, horizontal landing craft, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. So it's gonna. Yeah. So you be climbing onto it. You'd be feeling like you're getting on a rocket.
Yes, you are essentially getting on a rocket. The booster is just it's not expendable. It's going to be reusable. Blast it up to a certain height, and then it detaches. The booster goes down and sorts itself out, and the plane part, which is essentially just a kind of, it sort of looks a bit like the Spaceship One-ish. It's just a plane on the back of a rocket. Then essentially is on a ballistic trajectory largely for the rest of it. It has some power, I think, on it, but essentially it then just glides. Yeah, it falls and then glides.
So it's almost a ballistic trajectory is basically what an orbit is.
Yeah,
it's just a much lower one.
Yeah.
So I wonder if on the top of that arc, or for the majority of that ballistic trajectory, you'll be in microgravity.
Probably, I imagine.
Which means you probably have to be strapped down the whole time because you can't have a plane load of people. I think this thing is meant to take about 50 passengers, right?
Yeah, 50 or maybe more. I think it was 100. There was some idea of a design concept that meant maybe it could take 100.
Yeah, so you can't have 50 to 100 people floating around in microgravity for however long this thing is going to be.
Yeah,
that's going to be weird.
Yeah,
it might work though. You know, it might be the kind of thing.
People get sick from that sort of thing. I mean, they get sick mostly from hypergravity, but microgravity. Still not going to sit well with some people, but this sort of thing is going to be expensive, like regardless.
Sure,
they're not going to be cheap as commercial or even supersonic flights, probably.
Unless we get to a point where, reusable rockets are so
still
cheap.
Probably not going to be as cheap.
Yeah, probably not.
But it will be like a high price, extremely fast delivery system or transportation system.
Yeah, what are some of the transit times to get?
It's like 60 minutes from Europe to California. and
that's unbelievable.
And like 90 minutes from Europe to Australia.
90 minutes from Europe to Australia. Yeah. I mean, that's the other side of the world.
Yeah, It flies around the world. Flies halfway around the world in 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's really fast.
So for some people, for some reasons, for some markets, that's worth paying for. There could be a market for that if it's reliable and not like millions of dollars for.
If it's a bit like the Concorde price was to commercial planes, I mean maybe a bit more of a gap probably.
Yeah.
Then I mean people fly in private jets, right?
Mm.
So, sure. So people are, that type of market may consider.
Yeah.
Using that type of transport in the future.
Yeah, although the private jet market is mainly for luxury, whereas this is going to be much more for speed.
It is for luxury.
Minimal luxury.
Yes, that's very true. Down. You get your own plane, your own space, don't you?
Mm.
I guess you might even get private suborbital flights, for the really mega rich. But I still think those people who use private jets will have scenarios where they want to get from place A to B really quickly. They might choose speed over luxury in a lot of situations, because I can either spend 24 hours flying to Australia from Europe, or I can spend 90 minutes roughing it with everyone else. They might end up roughing it with all the other very wealthy people, and they get to experience all the craziness that goes with it. I mean, it might be a bit of an intense ride, and that might put people off. But yes, it could. It could. There could be a market for that sort of thing.
It might even invent its own market in a way, in the sense that the concept of traveling around the world to go to business meetings or conferences 100 years ago wasn't really a thing. But once air travel was around, suddenly that was a thing that people could do.
Yeah.
So maybe if it becomes reliable and becomes vaguely cheap enough for companies, say, to book their employees a ticket. Yeah. They could send people across to the US for a meeting from London and back in an afternoon and that kind of thing.
Well, that's the thing. You could fly back and forward
in a day.
Yes, in a day.
Quite easily.
To Australia.
Yeah, no worries. 90
worries.
Minutes either way. No worries. That was totally unintentional.
Yeah, but it's kind of you wouldn't be. Aside from the cost, and if it's dangerous, you might consider it.
Well, that's what I mean. If it's reliable and safe and all those stuff.
With that all sorted, it wouldn't be a big thing. It wouldn't be a big deal. You wouldn't have to plan ahead too much, etc. You could just pop over.
Yeah, I just love the concept of these sort of different modes of transport for different scales of journey. You could ride your hyperloop from one major city to another, and then jump on the kind of suborbital to get to the other side of the planet, and then another hyperloop. That kind of vision. I mean, it's very science fiction kind of sounding at the moment.
Yes,
suborbital jump in the planet.
But that's kind of the next level to transportation, isn't it? Because we've gone from basically having to spend months getting somewhere on a ship, or doing very small flights, or even before that, no flights at all. To an environment where we can get around most of the globe within sort of 24 hours.
Yeah. You basically, to get to really far, apart from islands in the South Pacific, which might take multiple days to get to, forgetting them, to get to any major city on the other side of the world, you basically have to commit a day of traveling to it, and that's all right, but we can get better.
Yeah, exactly. So then the next stage to that is cutting these things down to where you can go to far-flung, do intercontinental flights and do a couple in a day and not feel destroyed by it. So you could, you could fly if you absolutely had to from here to from say London to New York.
Yeah.
5-6. That's a 6-hour flight or something, isn't it? 6-hour flight, say.
About that, yeah.
6-hour flight. Then you go and have a meeting for, say you got to get out of the airport and all that sort of stuff. So you spent probably sort of 8 hours door to door, probably a bit more than that actually. Maybe 9 hours, say, and then you've got the rest. You could say 3-hour meeting, 2-hour meeting, or whatever you've gone over for, and then another 9 hours. You're going to be destroyed after that.
Yeah, it ruins you.
But if you could do that in 60 minutes, 60-minute flight, 2 or 3 hour meeting, 60-minute flight, plus an hour either side of each flight. You can that's easily a day, and it's not that draining.
I mean, 60 minutes is a lot of people commute that every day to work.
So that becomes you could even commute intercontinental commuting.
I mean, it'd have to be pretty cheap for that, surely.
It would have to be very cheap,
unless you're like really high up in some company and they want you and they'll pay for you to do that.
Or you just run one of these, a big company, and you just happen to 3 days a week you work in, I don't know, France, and you live in the UK, and then you fly to and you commute to the US for sort of two days a week of work.
Yeah,
you just that's just what you do. You just
standard. That's fine. Yeah, could work.
It could work as long as price is a barrier, obviously, at certain levels.
And you'd be doing a rocket journey, basically a rocket launch every day.
Oh, if it was this type of thing, I mean, if it was the A2.
Yeah, sure, but that's not going to be a 60-minute flight to a different continent, is it? The rocket thing is a 60-minute flight to a different continent.
Yes, but it's still going to be very short. It's going to be a few hours.
Yeah.
So that cuts it down to potentially being able to do a day to something like the New York journey.
Oh, yeah, there and back in a day, and a meeting in the middle, no worries.
Yeah, you could probably do that.
Yeah.
And so it's just becoming to the point where almost where you live, as long as forgetting that money as an object kind of doesn't really matter anymore, because you can just pop around anywhere.
Yes, it will get more and more like that.
Yeah,
which is cool, and it makes you wonder if this concept of, because obviously cities are growing massively at the moment, but whether we'll get past that, that'll plateau and then begin to drop off as transport becomes cheaper and faster, and people don't really want to live in cities. People want to live in somewhere nice, but they want to be able to get places quickly. Once they can get places quickly, people won't want to live in cities anymore, at least in maybe the richer kind of western areas. I don't know, maybe not. Maybe there's advantages to living in cities beyond just the services you get, though.
Yeah,
like the social aspects of it, and the cultural aspects of it. But.
Exactly. There's some. I mean, people will maybe more and more. You still want to live near a hub of transport.
Yeah, sure.
To use the fast transport, and most of those are going to be near cities, big cities, probably to start with. Yeah, I mean, there's not going to be that many airports, even in the far future. I mean, hyperloops aren't going to be doing every journey, so you're going to have to get slower transport.
Yeah. Some kind of car to the station, and then the hyperloop, and then the hyperloop to the airport, and sure.